Hey, if you're scrolling by this video right now and you're a guy, I'm talking to you. I've been dealing with the thoughts of, feeling burned out. And, maybe you felt burned out, or maybe you felt like, like life was too much, or like, overwhelmed, or, you just don't feel right, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's depression and anxiety. I know a lot of guys don't like to use those words. They're too tough for that, but that's okay. I mean, it's okay to have your feelings, but the reality of it is, whatever you want to call it, overworked, can't focus on anything, stressed out. What's causing it? Well, I think one thing that's causing it is our focus. You can't do anything if you're not focused. If you go hunting, right? If you like to hunt, your scope's got to be in focus so that you can see, right? Or else you can't hit your target. You're going to miss it. If you're trying to take a picture of something and you want to get a good picture or film or whatever, you got to make sure it's in focus, right? So yeah, what are you focused on? Are you focused on the reality of life? Are you focused on the problems? Are you focused on the fact that, your mortgage is coming up and you don't know how you're going to make that bill? Maybe you're worried your car is going to break down because you couldn't afford to pay for it. Recently did have a car break down and I had to put some money out that I didn't really have. But, we make it happen even if it's hard and it stresses us out. But we get focused on all that. We get focused on all the problems. We get focused on always having to feel like you're working or whatever. I work a day job, and then whenever I come home, I spend some time with my family. And after my kids go to bed, I work on this. And I'm working all the time. I'm tired. And some nights I decide I'm not going to do it. And it's so easy to choose not to, but then I feel guilty because I'm not working towards this, which is, important. I feel like it's important for me to do. So then I'm focused on problems. An easy example would be, let's say my kids like to make chocolate milk, and my son's decided that he's going to start making it, and he's pretty good at it. He doesn't really spill it, but let's just say hypothetically he did. He spilled the milk and it went all over the kitchen floor, and I focused on that. Maybe I focused on him spilling the milk and I got upset. Let's just say I got upset, and then you fail as a parent. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes, and you get upset and you lose your temper, and you're like, why did you do that? Why didn't you, blah, 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 blah. Well, the kid's just trying to do something for themselves to become self-sufficient. You know what I mean? So you could focus on the problem and you could get upset, and you could just, you're going to get upset. You're going to make them more upset than they already are, because they're going to feel bad already for what they've done because they made a mistake, and they know that. They don't need you to tell them. So then you're compounding the problem by focusing on the problem. When you start focusing on problems, you're going to end up being short-tempered with your children. You'll be short-tempered with your spouse. You're going to suffer in your job. You're not going to be anywhere 100% because you're focused on all the problems. I'm not making enough money. I'm not, whatever it is. Some people, whenever they have problems, they cope with it different ways. Some people cope with it by shutting down. Some people cope with it by frustration and anger. Some people cope with it by drinking alcohol. Some people cope with it by smoking. You create more problems when you focus on problems. If you're turning to alcohol, you're probably, if you're not already addicted, you're walking towards an addiction. You're spending money on something that's not helping you. And if money is your problem, then spending money on alcohol or cigarettes or whatever it is that you're spending money on is actually causing you more problems. Seriously, think about going to meetings. I mean, there are AA and NA meetings for people who have drug addictions. There's help out there, right? Being conscious is a key. So many people walk through this life asleep, right? They walk through this life not knowing anything. They're just going along with the system, just doing what they're told they were supposed to do. You go to college, you get your job. Maybe you don't go to college. Maybe you just go into a work field and you just work your bones, work yourself to the bone. And you feel like maybe you've chosen your path and that's all there is to it. That's not necessarily true. That's just what everybody in society does. But think about super successful people like inventors, people who send, rockets into space or create, new platforms like YouTube, or people who come up with new ideas. Like, those people were just regular old people like anybody else. They could have decided to go work in a factory. They could have went to college and got a business degree. Some of them may have. A lot of people that come out with really cool stuff never even finished college. They just came out with something cool and did it. If you keep focusing on your problems, what you're going to eventually end up doing is feeling like you're drowning. And when you're drowning, all you can think about is, oh God, I don't want to drown. Oh God, I'm going to die. Oh God, this is not good. And you reach and you struggle. It doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are. If you feel like you're drowning, you're going to struggle and panic, and you're not going to be able to pull yourself out of that, and you'll drown. But my daughter and I actually had to go to Dollar General this evening to pick up some bread. And on the way there, she said, I learned that and she's 5, she said, I learned that if you're fall in some water and you can't swim, that if you just lay back on your back, that you'll float. And I said, yeah, that's true. And it got me to thinking, if I focus on this problem, I'm going to drown. But if I stop trying, right? I got to stop trying because I can't do anything of myself. Then I just relax and float, right? No, I'm not going to get out of the lake. I'm going to be in the lake, right? Or the river or whatever I'm in. I'm going to stay in that, right? I do have to eventually get myself out. But I can stop. And I can float, and I can spend some time thinking and reflecting on what's going on, what is really happening. I'm not drowning. I'm okay. Life will continue. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter how many times that you get into a bind, you can get out of it. I have always, my family has always been able to come out on the other side. All right. So you have to stop long enough to focus on reality. And the reality is that money's made up. The system that we live in is made up. We've all agreed for some reason that we'll go to our jobs and let them give us money, and not just any job, everybody, everywhere. The system that exists in the world, the economy, everything, it's all made up, right? Money is a tool. Yes, we have to have it to pay the bills. But that's where you can get creative and figure out new ways to acquire money, right? Like, what skills do I have? What can I do that people be willing to pay for that will help add a little bit of extra income into my life so that I can pay for the things that I need? Maybe I cut out some of the things that I just want. Like, maybe you can't afford all the streaming services. Maybe you need to cut some of that out. Maybe, when you consume movies and TV and video games and all you do is sit there and take in things from other people, you're not creating anything. You're not fulfilled. You get a dopamine hit, but that's it. You get a dopamine hit and then it's over. Like, it lasts maybe 15 minutes and then you don't feel fulfilled. So you're like, maybe I should watch another one. And I don't know about you, but if I get on a streaming app and start looking for movies, I'll look for a movie or a TV show for an hour and a half, and I'll never end up watching anything. And then I'll go to bed without having done anything, and I've wasted a night. But if I don't do that, and I just come to my studio and I start creating things or working on things, I can get a lot done. Whatever it is you're interested in, maybe you want to do woodworking, maybe you want to build furniture, maybe you want to restore furniture, maybe you want to make fishing lures, maybe you want to, I don't know what you want to do. Maybe you want to be a musician, maybe you want to, start a music school. Who knows what you want? Whatever you're good at. Maybe you got mechanic skills and you could, start your own shop. You won't find it if you just stay focused on problems, right? If you have to, get up 30 minutes earlier than the rest of your family and just sit in silence and just don't talk. Don't read anything. Don't get out your phone. Don't do anything. And just sit there and just see what happens. Just clear the room of any distractions and just sit there with yourself. Maybe you believe in God. I believe in God. Let God speak to you. Trust that voice inside. Look for that little kid that was inside of you before the world had a chance to corrupt it, that believed in everything, that believed in magic, that believed that anything was possible, because that person's still inside of you, and that person can make your dreams come true if you allow them to thrive. I know this has just been rambling, but it was on my heart, and I hope that you got something out of it. I'm not very good at speaking about this and articulating it very well. I'm not a psychologist, but if you would like to learn a little bit more about focus and mindset, I did an episode, and I'm going to put the link right up here for you. And if you want to follow that link, then you can go watch that episode, and I'm sure that it'll really enhance your life. Thanks for listening.